Hello YouTube, this is Charlotte426, and today we have the review of the 30-Minute Fantasy Liber Archer. Now, my first 30-Minute Fantasy kit was the Liber Knight with the Paladin Armor set version, so that was more of a special set. But once again, this is my second time trying this, and my first impression on the Liber Knight was amazing, to the point that led me to pre-ordering the Liber Archer. Yes, I only ordered this version. There's always like two variants, so this is the green one, and I believe there was a dark purple one because there's obviously two sides. But once again, I decided to go with one side, and I'll try to stick with that as well. Now, because it's overall the fantasy theme, there's already a lot of, how should I say, classes or themes going on here. So we had the Liber Knight, and then obviously some people might have already seen the Liber Priest, and then there was also something I missed called the Liber Fighter. So I might actually go for the Liber Fighter in the future if I can even get it. But for now, once again, let's start with the review. So, here is the box. Absolutely love the art style of the boxes as well. So, yeah. Just wanted to point that out, and let's see what we got. Now, for those who have already tried the Liber Knight, I think it's already kind of, pretty much easy or kind of guaranteed or pretty much obvious to say that the base form is exactly the same. So the only difference from here is that the structure, everything is the same. The only changes would be the color of these rings on the wrist, arms, size and such are now from blue to green, because this crystal in the chest, the elemental has changed to wind. So back Liber Knight was blue, which was, I think, was mentioning water. And then because of this aspect, even the head, the eyes, the clear eye parts inside the head is now green as well. So that is the only difference compared to the Liber Knight. Now, once again, I did mention that the Liber Knight version, there's the Liber Knight, and then there's the Paladin version as well. So the Paladin parts, technically you're supposed to buy them, purchase them separately, but Bandai did release a specific set that also includes the Paladin parts with the Knight parts as well. So, yeah, so in that case, basically you can buy that and make two forms. In this case, it's just this and then the Archer parts as well. So I want to point that out as well. So I don't want people saying like, hey, why is there only one set of parts? You're supposed to be getting one set of parts. That Liber Knight thing was a little bit of a special occasion. Alright, so as usual, let's go over what you're supposed to get. And first of all, I would like to mention I'm not going to go over articulation, because obviously it's the same thing. Articulation is exactly the same. It's basically 30-minute mission kits, everything, like every color version of the alto will all be the same in terms of articulation. So this is also the same as well. Alright, so in terms of equipment, actually let's go over the armor parts, because that is much more important. And before the armor parts, let's go over the leftover pieces to straighten out this desk as well. So, unlike compared to the Liber Knight, the Liber Archer doesn't use every single piece. So what I'm saying is that each arm and leg will have a different amount of armor pieces. Hence, the using of certain parts is going to be slightly different. So which is why we have some of these leftover parts here. So only one side gets the armor, so which is why we have the other ring with the peg as a leftover piece. Same goes for the arm as well. Only one wrist gets the armor, since peg one ring peg, and as well. Same goes for the arm. Well, actually, yeah, only one arm gets armor pieces, so only one leftover pieces as well. So you will usually get two, and Liber Knight use both. In this case, you only use one. These joints, they're not like multiple joints, but once again, the shoulder, I think they just gave out these like as leftover pieces so that you can use them multiple ways as well. Because I can't remember if Liber Knight actually had leftover pieces of these as well, but there is a chance. Alright, and now, while these are technically leftover parts, but it's really up to your preference how to use them. The whole point of 30-minute missions, 30-minute fantasy, is basically freedom of build and customization. So while these are the reason why I'm saying that these are leftover parts is because they weren't really mentioned in the instruction manual, but you're still able to build them, or some of them are just pretty much, you take it for granted, like these open hands with the wrist joints as well. So yeah. That's that, and then we have this hand, which is once again hands for grabbing weapons. But once again, if you have an extra joint, you can put it here to have an extra wrist movement here as well. And then here we have some familiar parts, mostly for shield and stuff. But once again, this kit does not actually have a shield, so yeah. And then we have these multiple joints or parts for other usage. Alright, now let's go over the stuff that you should be getting and have to use as well. So here we have all the armor parts here. Let's look at them one by one. So obviously we have this part here which goes on the chest. It's pretty much self-explanatory, but before you actually apply this onto the chest, you actually need to take off the original armor part on the chest as well. So there's another gray part that it's kind of like a similar size to this, but you have to take that out. And then let's see, this is a psi armor, so which is why it's using one of these rings here. This goes onto the left side right over here. So that's that. So this one goes on to the lower leg, if I remember correctly. So that's that. Here we have the wrist armor, once again for the left arm as well. And then another arm, we have these two parts for the arms for the left arm, armor for the left arm as well. This one just pegs into the arm. This one uses the ring with the peg here. And then on the other side, we have this part that goes on, once again, onto the arm, but slightly smaller than this one, so it covers up less. And here we have the shoulder armor that actually attaches to the actual frame here, so that's kind of interesting to see. Well, technically, it attaches to the armor part that's on the frame as well, while the other shoulder works a little bit differently. And here we have the neck armor, and then here we have the face mask as well. Very, very cool design. And then here we have the waist armor. So we have the front part and the back part here, and then we have the side part here. So yeah, they really considered how like archers work. So they didn't put like armor on every side so that it would limit its articulation, because you know, when you think about archers, they have to move freely, especially their arms, and they shouldn't have much, you know, covering parts in their vision or movement. So that's why I think they went with this design. And once again, here we have the back part that has one of the shoulder armors. So the only part a lot of people did not like about the Liber Knight is the way how the shoulder armor works. Usually you would expect that you have shoulder armor, it would attach that directly onto the shoulder of the base frame, but no, they actually attach to the back here like this, and then you have to wrap around like that. Sorry about that, I had to sneeze. But once again, going back here, so once again the shoulder armor has to wrap around the actual shoulder. And then here we have this, which is something I wasn't expecting, is a quiver. I think this is what they call it, that you put in your bow arrows here. So once again, it's attached similar to the shoulder armor, but once again, this does not actually affect the shoulder. It just goes onto the back, and because it's a double joint, that one that pegs here and then the other one pegs onto the joint and that connects here. So you can put it on the back, make it look straight, or you can always make it slanted like you usually see in games or video or in movies. So once again, this attaches to the back. Once again, this is more of a self-gripe for me, is that I wish they were like not a single peg, because sometimes when you're moving this around, it could be like rotating on its own. Since there's like 3 holes, I was kind of hoping maybe they could put 3 pegs or maybe 2 onto the 2 sides so that it would lock into place more. But once again, it's just a minor thing, so it doesn't really affect you. It wouldn't affect you as much as you think. Alright, and then also, if you guys are wondering, no, you do not get 6 individual arrows. These are actually like this. You get a pack of 3 like this, and another pack of 3 like this. These do not connect to each other. These are just separate pieces, and they just give you the illusion that you have multiple arrows inside this tube. Once again, I think it does get the job done. So once again, yeah, I don't think it's really that much of a problem. And let's say you did get 6 individual arrows, I don't think that's you're not really gonna do anything with them. They're just pretty much gonna stay here. Alright, and now for the main weapon, which as an archer, which should be obvious, is the bow. So once again, I already have the specific hand that's supposed to be using this here for the left arm. Once again, but with the other leftover pieces, you can technically have it on the right arm if you want to do so. Now, regarding parts, there's one thing I did not mention here. So you see this clear line here? Yeah, so this comes from this. They actually give you 5, but you're only using 1. So they know, or they knew, that this material is going to be a really big problem in the long run. So they gave you 4 extra spares. So these are like slightly, like very thin plastic pieces as far as I can explain. And yeah, you're supposed to use them so you can see each end has a hole here, so that you connect those into the pegs inside each end of the bow to give it that elastic feel going on here, which does work, but depending on how you pose it or how you how should I say, manage this thing, this can definitely get ruined pretty quickly if you ask me. So and the problem is, it doesn't really, I mean, it works in terms of posing, but once again, like getting the right angle or getting the right, like, how should I say, position here on the pulling mechanism, it's not that great. And most of the time it's always going to be like this. So if you want to straighten it out, you also always have to straighten out the bow like that. So this could be very tricky. So if you do have like certain materials, I do suggest you may use something a little more sturdier or something like that, because this in the long run is not going to look good or it's going to be messy. And finally, they actually give you a separate metal rod like this. And this is supposed to be a, you know, for it to be used as a single bow for posing to hold the actual, you know, arrow here as well. So the way how you're supposed to use this is that they give you this specific hand, and as you can see between those two fingers there's a small gap here, so you're supposed to like plug it in like that. Oops. So yeah, it's supposed to be able to plug in slightly like that, so that you get the illusion that this guy's actually holding the arrow as well. So, and it does actually work pretty well. You can see it does hold it. So yeah. Yeah, although this thing is slightly longer than the molded one, so it may break the illusion if you go all the way to the end tip. So, but if you match the thing here, then you see you can see it's a bit longer here. So if you match it like that, then it's obviously longer. So if you match it like the same length, then you can see the middle rod popping out there. So it may be a bit of a problematic thing, but you know what? I'll take it, because I wasn't expecting a metal version of this thing. But once again, it works. It's just the problem that getting this in the exact middle pole here has been tricky for me. So yeah. Alright, so we've seen all the components. I'll be right back with the parts slapped onto this guy to make Liber Archer. So I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. So here we have all the armor parts attached and finally completed Liber Archer. So once again, I overall love the green color scheme. Kind of reminds me of the old traditional or iconic like Robin Hood style thing. So yeah, so everything should, you know, go into place with no issues. And once again, once you have tried applying all the armors once, it's pretty much easy to like memorize or remember what goes where as well. And here's the example where I'm using the bow, and this time I try to match it in the middle, and then the finger is holding the metal rod here as well. So once again, it does look good, but when you actually look close, this thing is not really like tightly pulled. It doesn't give out that feeling that it's tightly pulled enough, depending on how you look at it. But once again, it does work as well. So I do suggest, if you find a better material for the lining, I do suggest it. And it's really tricky to like get this in the right position, because this thing will be wobbly in general. So make sure that you get it in like, you tight that in pretty well, and then make sure that the rod is like laying on the other hands or fingers as well. And once again, everything just works very well, despite you would think that the type of shoulder connection here, because of the overall back, and then you rotate to the front, it's going to be bothering articulation. It doesn't really bother it that much as well. Although I am slightly kind of confused why I'm still having some kind of wobbly issue every time I try to make this guy stand. But still, as long as you balance it, you should be okay. But once again, it's slightly frustrating to see, because I have zero issues with the feet, but still, it's just overall like that. Now, overall articulation should still remain the same, because there's not much blocking the way. The only thing I would say that's been obscured would be the right leg going to the sideways. However, keep in mind this armor is connected to multiple pegs, so you do have a little bit of extra boost that can go upwards. But once again, you're going to the side 90 degrees is not really a essential thing when you think about it. It's just like you have that range, but you're not going to be utilizing everything as well. And once again, this side of the shoulder just attached right away onto the shoulder armor that was on the base form. So you don't actually detach this. Usually for this shoulder, you have to detach this part. This one you don't, and on this thing you have a hole there. So that's where you actually plug it in. Alright, and yeah, that is pretty much it. And I think it would have been really nice if they added like a small sword or some kind of a dagger to attach here, because once again, the biggest problem with archers is that, you know, once you're out of arrows, you're kind of screwed. So, then again, maybe you can modify this to make it look like a blade on each end, so you can still use it as a close combat weapon. But once again, that is pretty much it. So yeah, here is my issue. Just showing it one more time. Yeah, this thing will fall off a little bit easily depending on how you do it, and once you have the arrow out, you can see it's a very messy look. So if you want to make it look straight, you have to pull these sides all the way up. And then once again, the grip here isn't the best, but you do need to either squeeze it down like that. But once again, it is going to be going up and down no matter what. So that's that. Alright, and that is pretty much it for the review. So once again, I didn't go over articulation because it's the same articulation as Liber Knight, so you shouldn't have a general idea how these things work. And then again, it's 30-minute mission. 30-minute mission kits has always have been had amazing articulation, so I don't think it's going to be disappointing you in that department. It's just a matter of, do you really like the Archer style? Does it, deliver all the things that you wanted in terms of a Archer mech, is the question. Now, once again, if you don't like the overall green version, there is the other side which has the more darker color scheme, so it's really up to your preference. Or once again, you can modify this whatever you want. You like the green, or you wanted the green rings and the green eyes, then you can slap on Liber Knight armor to this guy to make Liber Knight, or even the Paladin. It's just really it's just the way how it works. Anyway, thanks for watching the review. This was the review of the 30-minute Fantasy Liber Archer. If you guys got any questions or requests, leave a comment below. I still have more stuff to buy and build and make reviews on, so please stay tuned. Until then, see you guys next time.